thing for you guys.
Yep, got it.
Uh, and so the idea of why I did it in Google Docs is
Yep,
because this way you can just share the link
yep,
and everybody should be able to collaborate and use this one file as a single point of information.
yep,
So basically, I made this, remember, thinking about the fact that you guys are virtual, but also you're global.
mhm,
And so that's why I designed this thinking about the least amount of even meetings that you will have to do to complete this.
yep,
And so it's a 10 steps, that 10 missions, if you will, that you guys need to complete. And so, of course, the framework is the DMAIC, which is define, measure, analyze,
yep,
improve, and control. Okay. So basically, just to give you a walkthrough, and then we jump into the things that you guys need to complete. The first thing is define the problem. And so, what is the single problem we're trying to resolve? So
yeah,
that is the first question. And then I added some tips that later you can review. But basically, is what is the problem? And then digging deeper, be more specific about the problem. So maybe um, the first problem statement is vague, but then as you guys dig deeper into maybe the data, you should be able to come up with a very specific problem statement. Then the next piece, which is the measurement piece, is what is our improvement target? How much we want to improve? And you got to think about a time frame of, let's say, between 4 to 6 months. What is this target that we're looking for in terms of improving? Then in analyze is basically understand what is causing this problem. So it's all about establishing these cause and effect relationships.
mhm,
And then this is a step 6 is going to be a team vote. Once you guys collected all the different potential causes of why we are having this problem, then the team is going to vote so that you guys identify what are the vital few items that are causing this particular problem.
yep,
So at that point, you should be able to go, let's say, from 15 things that potentially are causing the problem to the top three. And that's where you're going to concentrate your effort on the next day, which is the asking why and the solution. So, and I'm going to give you some examples. This is just an overview, but it's asking, okay, why is it that this is happening? And why is it that this is happening? So you get to the real root cause. And then you start thinking about, okay, how are we going to solve this? So once you have those three root causes, then you're going to come up with the improvement plan, which is basically, okay, now that we know these are the main things, so what are we going to do
yep,
exactly? What are some of the specific actions? And then very important is to follow up, right? You have your action plan with your team. So now maybe every month we check on how are we doing with these specific actions that we agree we were going to do.
yep,
So the way I'm thinking it is that this first phase, I estimated, you can easily do it in 20 days,
yeah,
maximum 30 days. So you should tell the team, guys, we're going to complete this. We have 20 days to do it. And then, of course, the action plan is going to probably take longer because we're going to have to do some of the things that we, commit on the action plan. But in 4 to 6 months, you should have some concrete improvements, so that you can maybe if you want to do this survey again on that particular item, you should see some improvements. So now let's jump into, you have any questions so far?
No.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Great. So now let's jump into the actual file. So again, the same steps are listed here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the reason is because, again, you're going to be guiding this effort. So you try to follow the process. Don't jump into, let's start brainstorming improvements. Don't jump into that before you do all the steps, right? Because that's why you're doing this systematically.
Yeah.
And also, you want to make sure that at each point you engage the team with the email or a chat or however you want to make the engagement, so that everybody is following the process, right? So step one, and this is probably something you, Jason, could capture. Maybe 1 and 2 is something you can capture, which is, what is the problem that we are trying to resolve?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm giving you there 2 examples. So one is suppliers are calling daily complaining about payments. And then I made one that is more like a funny one so people understand that this works with any problem.
Right.
My coffee is not hot enough. Okay. But then be more specific. So answer the following question. What is the problem? How much or how many? Where does the problem exist? When does this happen? And who is impacted? So for example, I said 40% of the payments that World Vision Gandanki process every month by the finance department to all Gandanki suppliers are not paid on time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a more specific problem statement than the one before. Or in the example of the coffee is 100% of the coffee cups, 3 per day, that I drink during the day of the last 12 months have been not as hot as I like.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the first 2 steps, is making sure you guys are clear about the problem. Then the next one is about the improvement target. So basically I'm saying, be specific, you be smart, specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, realistic, and time bound. So I want to increase on-time payment monthly on a monthly average across Gandanki from 40 to 70 by the end of January 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Or 100% of the coffee cups, 3 per day, that I drink during the day, one with the temperature that I like, and to sustain the temperature until I finish it. So then this is something you guys can come back later in terms of the goal, after probably you have identified some of the root causes. But it's important that you establish a improvement goal that you're going to be pursuing for the length of this project. And then once you have that, then you engage the team and say, okay, guys, I want you guys to brainstorm on your own time. Maybe you say you're going to have 3 days to capture what do you think is causing that problem. So the team will brainstorm and capture what may be causing this problem. So they have to say the problem is caused by, so in this example, I'm saying invoices not sent to suppliers on time, invoices not sent from the NOs on time, Sun 6 is too slow, tight payment terms on contracts, too many approvals. So what is causing the problem? So then on the coffee example, is coffee maker is not working. It is taking too long to start drinking coffee after coffee is done brewing. Winter time, things are getting cold too quickly, etc. And it's important also for them to classify them into these different categories. So some of them may be people related, others may be processes related, policies, technology, environment. Now, here's a little bit tricky because you are the boss. The trick here is you have to let them know that it's okay for them to be open and transparent. That you're not going to take things personal if they say, for example, the last reorganization or restructuring was not managed properly. That's okay. So you have to let them know that unless they share, openly what they think, that the problems are not going to get fixed. And so, but basically, in this process, they're capturing all the different causes of the problem. So let me pause here and see if you have any questions.
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
The question, so I'm just trying to think through. I might need to do a little work kind of up funnel, if you will, like a pre-process, because, on the Our Voice survey, the question is something like, our organization does well in eliminating bureaucracy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if I need to, my thought was maybe like I have a hard time being more specific at this moment without kind of soliciting input from the team.
Yeah.
So I
think to me that can be a great. The step number one is that question.
Yeah.
Right. Step number two is, what was the score that you got?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like say 30%.
Oh yeah.
So maybe 30% of the team thinks that we are having a lot of bureaucracy, blah blah blah. So then the step number three will be, by the end of in 6 months, we want to improve by 20% on that number. And so what is causing the bureaucracy in your perspective?
Okay.
And so let them brainstorm all the things that they think. And here tell them, guys, I want you to be very specific when you list all the different causes. So for example, if you are attributing that bureaucracy to one specific process, call it out. Mm-hmm. Because we want to make sure that when we get to the solutions, that we are addressing that specific process to fix it, right? So for example, if they say, well, the good news about this process in the context of Our Voice is that they know why they graded the way they did it. So if they are transparent, they should be able to tell us, okay, I graded like that because the approval process that we have in our team for traveling is very bureaucratic. And so tell them to be very specific about that. So then again, you capture all that, and then the next mission is voting. So you're gonna say, okay, guys, so you're gonna list the names of all the different team members here. And so you're gonna say, you guys have 12 votes. So you're gonna distribute those votes based on the different causes that you identify. And so in this example, for example, let's say Carlos, that's me. I say I give 9 votes to integration errors, and 3 votes to tight payment terms. So then Jason may say, well, I give 8 to integrated errors, 2 to invoices, and 2. So each person will have 12 votes. Gotcha. So the idea here is that at the end of this voting system, that the ones that are top will be very evident. Because I think, at this point, most of the team will recognize that, oh yeah, these 3 are top 3 pain points. And maybe there's going to be a a section before you go into the voting where you're going to have to do a little bit of cleaning on the causes, because sometimes they duplicate, or maybe you're going to have to rewrite some of those just to be very like specific. But once you do that, then you can set the next challenge and say, okay guys, you have 3 days to vote, so I expect the votes to come up by Thursday. And the good news is that this process is set up so everybody participates, right? So if you see people not voting, then you can say, hey, Sean, I didn't see your votes. Could you please vote, because it's important that everybody participates. And then, so let's say we have these two top ones, right? 1 and 2. You say, okay, guys, so based on what I see, why don't we concentrate on these 2, because these are our low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you go to next phase, which is digging deeper. Okay. This next step,
Carlos, is there any magic with the 12 votes?
No. It's just an arbitrary number. Usually, there is a rule that says that the number of votes is the number of options divided by 3, I think. So, for example, if there's, 20 causes,
right?
If you divide that by 3, that's the number of votes. But I think 12 will work fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then tell them not to be biased. Okay. Tell them, guys, don't just vote or give your votes where you see most people are voting. So try to be very honest about the answer, so we really get the ones that are more important.
Mm-hmm.
So then, let's say these 2 are the winners: integration errors and type payments.
Yeah.
And so then we're going to move to the next phase, which is the whys. So we have integration errors and we have type payments. So then why is it that we have integration? Again, you're going to ask them to brainstorm why. And so people will say, well, we are doing the coding wrong. So why? Well, there's lack of accountability. That's one reason. There's poor communication, and there's lack of training. Okay, why is there lack of accountability? Well, because there's not a follow-up process established. Why we have poor communication? Because the requester doesn't understand the consequences of wrongdoing, and because the weekly report is not getting to the requesters. Okay, and then lack of training. Well, people can access the training because they don't have access to eCampus, and there's time constraints to take the training. So here the idea is you guys are digging deeper into each of those causes, right? And again, this is set up so that once you have this, you can ask them, okay, guys, help me brainstorm why, and go deep, right? So, anybody can come and collaborate here and type the whys. And then you say, okay, also brainstorm solutions. What do you think can be the solution? So, for example, here, we're saying we need a small team to define the escalation process. Okay. And who suggested that solution? Well, Carlos. Okay. What about this one? Incorporate metric to show report distribution. Okay. So then in this phase, there's 2 goals. One is to dig deeper, and 2, to identify potential solutions. And then the last step, now that we have that, is just completing an action plan. So basically it's, okay, what is the cost that we are targeting? Well, in this case, it was the coding errors. What is the action? Well, we're gonna ensure that everybody has access to the training. What is the priority? we got to do this in the next 30 days. Who's responsible in the team? Well, Sean, you're going to do that. Okay. By when? This should be done in 2 weeks. Okay. How much progress you're making? Because you're going to review this on a maybe like bi-weekly or monthly basis. Well, you should see that the team is making progress 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. What is the status? We're on track, so we're green on this. And if there's any team comments, then we're going to capture that. So in a nutshell, that's it. That's the 10 steps process.
Love it.
I'm glad you like it. I think this, brother, and of course, I mean, it's okay. Tell the team, guys, we're trying this. We're gonna learn.
Yeah.
There's gonna be mistakes and all that. It's not gonna be perfect. But if you guys are able to do this, again, not only you have learned how to solve problems systematically within your team, but you really are making a great service to the company, because we can use this for many groups in the organization that we really don't know how to do this in the way, like virtually and globally. It's really difficult. So if you can do this, we're going to use this as an example to show others, okay, this is how you do it.
Well, that might be a little ambitious, but it's not an example for the whole org, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, and once you make progress on this, we can meet again.
Yeah.
So we make it better, and you know, we fine tune it. And I really would like to stay close to you guys to also help you as a sounding board and say, you know, Carlos, I don't know how to make this work. And so as you move with this exercise forward, maybe you and I can meet every month to do lessons learned.
Yeah.
What do you think, brother?
No, that's great.
You like it?
Yeah.
So
yes, you can just send that to me, right? That link. It's Google Docs.
Yeah, exactly.